The Met Gala recently took place, and history has been made, my friends, because the first transgender black quadriplegic model took the stage at the Met Gala. Now, this really sticks in my craw because the left does not give a crap about minorities. The left only wants to use minorities as props to advance their political agenda. And I believe that this is exactly what is happening here, whether Aariana realizes it or not. Or maybe, just maybe, he is being used and being a willful pawn. Because I want you to look at what this person said in a recent TED Talk. He blames whiteness for the things holding him back in life. Take a look at this, and then I want to continue to talk about it.
When I first started working, I was an anomaly to the industry. Arguably, in many ways today, really I still am. I think it's time to say the quiet part out loud. The fashion industry is unlikely to book or pay black trans feminine and or physically disabled models to do runway, editorial, and or campaign because of an absence of whiteness.
Now, this quadriplegic has cerebral palsy. I don't like talking about it very often, but I felt compelled to mention the fact that I have cerebral palsy. I don't like talking about it because I am much more than my disability. And yes, life in some ways is a little bit harder because I have cerebral palsy. But you don't hear me whining and complaining the way Aariana is doing, in spite of being very privileged to be able to take the stage and to model. You don't hear me whining about my disability. You don't hear me complaining that there's some systemic thing holding me back. Really? Really? In 2026, there is nothing holding you back except for laziness and an unwillingness to do something with your life. That's what holds you back. And it gets me that the only time that the left cares about minorities is when they can use them for political props. That's exactly what's happening here. I want to read you a little bit of an article that I came across when doing research on Aariana because I had no idea who this person was, and it's insane. Listen to this, and I quote, "I think that for a long time it's been easy to see a disabled person in the public eye and label them an activist because we have no other choice but to speak up for ourselves in spaces that we inhabit because other people are not familiar with our bodies or how to accommodate us. We're given the title of activists because we're challenging a social system. I think that people realize that there's no choice but to do that if you have a disability in a major public space, because we have been so historically marginalized and pushed aside. Unfortunately, with the fascist shift in our global society, we are seeing people return to ableism and eugenics and harmful rhetoric toward disabled people. However, it's also so important that we're showing disabled people as part of the fashion industry, as models, as talent, as photographers, versus purely just activists and advocates. It shows that there is more of a variety to disabled people, or to the disabled experience and the desires of disabled people beyond challenging big social causes. At the end of the day, so many of us are just people who maybe feel passionately about something and want to contribute. So which is it? Which is it, Aariana? Are you wanting to be an activist, or do you just want to be a disabled model? Because you're being used as an activist. You're being used as a pawn. as you saw in the clip that I just showed you of this person's TED Talk. I feel sorry for Aariana. I feel sorry for this man, not because this person is disabled, but because they're under a delusion. They're under a mental delusion of gender dysphoria. They're under a mental delusion of the fact that they are being used as a pawn to push transgenderism and other confusion on the general public. This person should be happy and joyous because they have made it. But it's not on merit. I have a problem with that as someone who was born with cerebral palsy. I don't want to be looked at as a commentator with cerebral palsy. When you watch my videos, my friends, I hope that you're tuning in because you have seen some sort of value in what I have to say. I have fought my entire life to be viewed as an individual, not stigmatized because of a disability. And whether Aariana realizes it or not, all he is doing is further stigmatizing the disability and say, oh, look at me, because I want you to feel sorry for me, because society has something against me. Society's out to get me. Stop playing a victim. There are plenty of people who would be glad and overjoyed to be in your situation. But I see through this bullshit. Because all people want to do on the political left, the only time they give a damn about minorities is when they can use them for some political gain. That's exactly what is happening here. I want to tell you a story about something that happened to me a long time before anybody knew my name. I've been involved in politics since 2014 in some capacity. I started out as a Tea Party activist. And I remember that we would go to a local festival and we would pass out constitutions and we would tell people about the Tea Party and the ideas of liberty. And I remember this particular year, I believe it was around 2014, somebody came up to me, and it was an older black Democrat, and she got down in my face, ladies and gentlemen, and she looked at me with just a baby-fied look, and she said, she said, I worked in the public school system for, I think, 40 years, and she said, I just love people like you. And that's why you should vote for my Democratic candidate, because she just loves people like you. Mind you, I was looking at her in the face, and I was talking to her the same way I'm talking to you now. You can see that there's nothing wrong with me, other than the fact that I sit in a wheelchair. There's nothing wrong with me intellectually. I am not slow, and if I was slow, my parents would have never taken me to vote. Now, this person didn't know anything about me. They didn't know anything about how I feel, how I think. They didn't know that I was educated and informed on the issues. And they certainly didn't know that I was a Tea Party activist. And after I went to vote, I was going to help out the local Tea Party. I was floored and flabbergasted that this person would dehumanize me as an individual, in spite of the fact that I clearly do not have any sort of intellectual disability. That's what they think of people with disabilities. They only give a damn about us when they want to use us for political gain. They don't care about you. And this is not the only time it's happened. And it's only been Democrats, I have to say, that have treated me as some sort of lesser than and dehumanized me as an individual. They don't see any minority group as individuals. They see you as a collective that they can use for political power. And that's exactly what I think is happening with this Aariana Rose, because he checks all the boxes. He's black, he's disabled, and he's transgender. And that is why they're using him and using this platform that they have given him to push an ideology. Because if they can convince you that it's, oh, the system's against you, and we got to push back against the system and tear down everything that is American, then they can replace it with a new system, a truly fascist system. Don't fall for the lies, and don't let people like this play on your sympathies. I'm tired of the victimhood Olympics, and I will not be a party to it, and I will call out all this crap anytime I see it. If you agree with me that people should be judged as individuals and not as part of a collective, and by their merit and by what they bring to society of value, do me a favor and like this video so that more people see it, and share it everywhere you can. I want to wake up as many people as possible to the reality of what's going on when it comes to people with disabilities or people in any so-called marginalized groups. You are not a victim. So do me a favor and help me spread this message of liberty, and this message of independence. Let's break the shackles together. I'll see you in the next video.